none of it will be any more fun, I promise you, than the discussion we're about to have with your friend, Ford O'Connell. He is a Republican. He is also wearing a necktie. He is the chairman of Civic Forum PAC and the co-founder of Project Virginia. He advised the McCain campaign. He is certainly a Republican in good standing. So you know him, and you also know Richard Fowler. He is the host of the Richard Fowler Show on We Act Radio. If you live in D.C., you can listen to it at 1480 a.m. Here in D.C. Richard, welcome back. He is, we should point out, a man of the left, a Democrat in good standing.
That's why I wear the red tie.
Yeah, just so people know. Just so people know. Okay, so what Megan and Clerk Sant were talking about there, this has been a huge story. In Putnam County, New York, which is home to the Journal News, which is a Gannet-owned newspaper, they published and have created an interactive online map in which you can see the homes of people who are licensed gun owners in the county. And the clerk says, sue me, take me to court. I am not going to comply with these First Amendment requests that I give the press this information. This sort of cuts across ideological lines. Let's start with you, Ford. Conservatives are upset about the newspaper publishing this, but is it right for gun enthusiasts are upset about the newspaper publishing this? Is it right for him to withhold this information?
Right now, I think Dennis Sant is a saint. But as a former journalist and a recovering attorney, I have to say the law is not on his side. The question, though, is going to be how long he can keep showing. The burden's going to shift to him to say, they're endangering the public. But the reason why he actually has a very good point right now, at least in the short term, is because the Journal News really was not interested in reporting on guns or even anything else. What they were interested in was shock value, and this was a data dump with poor analysis. And right now, if he can show that burden, it could shift back to them. But I think over the long run, what he really needs to do is just hold out until New York State changes this information to be more private. Well, one thing I do want to add, in terms of Clerk Sant, what he also besides endangering the public made a very interesting argument, and that was based on technology. And what he was saying essentially is that the technology's changed because in 1981, when a similar case was filed, the Wall Street Journal, who's part of this network's News Corps, the deal was that they actually won on a very similar case. And in 2006, they asked the clerk again for the same information. He gave it to him, but they didn't publish it. What he's also saying is that the technology has changed, and I think he should open that to a broader argument on the political landscape.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I don't understand the whole technological argument.
He's saying that the Internet democratizes idiocy. Is really what he's saying.
That's what we count on every day here, is that at least we're making it more accessible to people. But isn't this an effort now, Ford? Isn't this in part an effort by this newspaper, this Gannet paper up there, to stigmatize gun ownership?
You're darn right it is. That's all this is about. Right. This is about really putting slurs and highlighting people who own guns. They have it out for the Second Amendment. But what they're also doing is they're trampling over privacy, and the courts don't like it when you use data dumps to expose anybody. They want you to actually physically show something other than just trying to endanger the public. This is very close to, in some ways, yelling fire in a crowded theater.
What's more endanger the public? A neighbor with a couple of assault rifles, or knowing where that person particularly lives?
Okay, I've got burglars, I've got thieves, I've got stalkers. I could know where the guns are. Remember, this was only a handgun request. Okay, so let's start with that point. Secondly, I can know who has guns and who doesn't. It makes my job much easier when all I want to do is ransack somebody's stalk them or hassle.
There's no disagreement here. Like I said, I think there is, this is an area of gray. I don't think there's black. I'm not a black or white. I don't think the Democratic Party is black or white on this. But at the end of the day,
I think they're pretty black and white on banning assault weapons.
Of course, and rightfully so. Because what is the possible use for a semi-automatic weapon? And you can't say to stop an intruder, because a handgun can stop an intruder.
Big Vinny 323 says this: I figure as soon as I walk out the door, I have no privacy anymore. But in my house, transparency is none of your business. I would have said beeswax, Vinny, because it would have been more pointed. But the truth is that this issue, technology, is going to make all of this a lot more complicated.
Exactly.
It's going to make all of it a lot more complicated. And you can imagine that, let's say in a state like Kansas that has reporting requirements as it relates to abortions and things like that, that if the shoe were on the other foot, you could see things. It would fire up a different direction. But we thank you guys for being insightful and fair-minded and patriotic about the whole thing. That's what we count on you for. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.